From the pit to the palace 1. In the land of Canaan, under the vast desert sky, lived Jacob, the son of Isaac, the grandson of Abraham. Among his 12 sons, his heart loved Joseph the most, the child born to him in his old age. To show his affection, Jacob gave Joseph a coat of many colors, a garment of beauty that made his brothers burn with jealousy. Joseph often dreamed divine dreams. One night he saw sheaves of grain bowing to his sheaf. Another night, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed before him. When he told these dreams to his brothers, their envy turned to anger, and they said, "Will you indeed reign over us?" But God was already writing a greater plan. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers who were tending flocks near Shechem. As Joseph approached them, his robe shining under the sun, they whispered among themselves, "Here comes the dreamer." Their hearts were filled with hatred. They seized him, tore off his robe, and cast him into a deep, empty pit. Some wanted to kill him, but Reuben, the eldest, pleaded for mercy. While they debated, a caravan of Ishmaelite traders passed by on their way to Egypt, their camels loaded with spices and silver. Judah said, "Let us not shed blood. Let us sell him instead." And for 20 pieces of silver, they sold their brother. The traders led Joseph away in chains, his eyes filled with tears, but his heart clinging to faith. Behind him, his brothers dipped his colorful robe in the blood of a goat and took it to their father. When Jacob saw it, he tore his garments and cried aloud, "Surely a wild beast has devoured my son." His grief was beyond comfort, and for many years he mourned Joseph as dead. But far from Canaan, in the land of Egypt, God's unseen hand was guiding every step of Joseph's life. Joseph was sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. Though a slave in a foreign land, the Lord was with him, and everything he touched prospered. Potiphar saw this and made Joseph overseer of his house, trusting him with all he owned. But Potiphar's wife cast longing eyes upon Joseph and tempted him, saying, "Lie with me." Joseph refused, saying, "How can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" One day when he fled from her, she tore his garment and falsely accused him. Potiphar's anger burned, and Joseph was thrown into the dark prison. Even in prison, God's presence did not leave Joseph. The keeper of the prison trusted him and made him responsible for all the inmates. Among them were Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and baker, both troubled by mysterious dreams. They told their dreams to Joseph, who said, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you." The cupbearer saw a vine with 3 branches budding and producing grapes. And Joseph said, "In 3 days Pharaoh will restore you." The baker's dream was grim, and Joseph said, "In 3 days Pharaoh will lift off your head." Everything came to pass as Joseph foretold. Before the cupbearer was freed, Joseph said, "Remember me when you stand before Pharaoh." But when the man was restored to his position, he forgot Joseph. 2 years passed in silence, with Joseph waiting patiently in the shadows, trusting that God's timing is perfect. Then one night, Pharaoh himself dreamed 2 troubling dreams. 7 fat cows were devoured by 7 thin ones, and 7 full ears of grain were swallowed by 7 withered ones. None of the wise men of Egypt could explain the meaning. Then the cupbearer remembered Joseph, and Joseph was brought quickly before Pharaoh. After being shaved and dressed in clean robes, he stood humbly before the king. Pharaoh said, "I have heard that you can interpret dreams." Joseph answered, "It is not in me, but God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace." He explained that the dreams were one: 7 years of abundance would come upon the land, followed by 7 years of severe famine. Pharaoh was amazed and said, "Can we find such a man in whom is the Spirit of God?" And he made Joseph ruler over all Egypt, placing his signet ring on his hand and a gold chain around his neck. At 30 years of age, Joseph became second only to Pharaoh. He rode in Pharaoh's chariot, and the people cried out before him, "Bow the knee!" During the 7 years of plenty, Joseph gathered grain in every city, storing it like the sand of the sea. He married Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, and had 2 sons, Manasseh, meaning, "God has made me forget my trouble," and Ephraim, "God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering." When the 7 years of plenty ended, the famine spread over all lands. But in Egypt, there was food. Meanwhile, back in Canaan, Jacob and his sons suffered hunger. When they heard that Egypt had grain, Jacob sent 10 of his sons to buy food, keeping Benjamin at home for fear of losing him. They came before Joseph, bowed down, and begged for grain, not knowing that the mighty ruler before them was their brother. Joseph recognized them instantly but concealed his identity. He spoke harshly, accusing them of being spies, and put them in custody for 3 days to test their hearts. On the 3rd day, Joseph released them, but kept Simeon as a hostage. He said, "Bring your youngest brother when you return, so I may see you are truthful men." The brothers returned home and told Jacob all that had happened. Jacob's heart was broken again. He said, "My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he alone is left." But as the famine grew worse, he finally agreed to send Benjamin, praying for mercy. When the brothers arrived again in Egypt, Joseph saw Benjamin and could hardly contain his emotions. He ordered a feast in his house and treated them with honor. They sat according to their birth order, amazed that this Egyptian ruler knew them so well. But Joseph still tested them. He placed his silver cup secretly in Benjamin's sack. When the men departed, soldiers pursued them and found the cup. Shocked and terrified, they were brought back before Joseph. Joseph declared, "The one with whom the cup is found shall be my slave." The brothers fell to the ground in despair. Judah stepped forward and said, "O my lord, let your servant remain in place of the boy. If he does not return, our father will die of sorrow." Hearing this, Joseph could no longer restrain his tears. He sent everyone away and wept aloud, so that even Pharaoh's house heard. Then he said, "I am Joseph. Does my father still live?" His brothers stood speechless. Joseph went to them and said gently, "Come near to me." Trembling, they came closer. "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. But do not be grieved or angry with yourselves, for God sent me before you to preserve life." He embraced Benjamin, and they wept together. One by one, he kissed each brother and forgave them. News of their reunion reached Pharaoh, who rejoiced and offered them wagons and supplies to bring their father and families to Egypt. When Jacob heard that Joseph was alive, he could scarcely believe it. But when he saw the wagons sent from Egypt, his spirit revived, and he said, "It is enough. My son Joseph is alive. I will go and see him before I die." As the family journeyed toward Egypt, God spoke to Jacob in a vision at Beersheba. "Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make of you a great nation." Strengthened by faith, Jacob and his sons entered the land of Egypt. When Joseph met his father after so many years, he fell on his neck and wept for a long time. The years of pain melted away in that embrace. Pharaoh welcomed Jacob and his family with honor and gave them the best of the land, the region of Goshen, where their flocks could graze freely. There they prospered under Joseph's protection, and God's promise to Abraham began to unfold. The children of Israel grew and multiplied greatly. As the years passed, famine faded, and Egypt thrived under Joseph's rule. He managed the land wisely, storing grain for the people and ensuring none starved. Pharaoh trusted him completely, and Joseph became a legend in his own time. But through his success, Joseph never forgot the God of his fathers. He knew that every rise, every fall, every tear, and every triumph was woven by God's own hand. When Jacob grew old, he blessed each of his sons, speaking prophetic words over their futures. Before he died, he called Joseph and made him swear to bury him in the land of his fathers. After his death, Joseph led a great procession to Canaan and buried Jacob in the cave of Machpelah beside Abraham and Isaac. The Egyptians mourned for 70 days, for even they honored the man whose wisdom had saved their nation. After their father's death, Joseph's brothers feared that he would now take revenge. They bowed before him, saying, "We are your servants." But Joseph wept and said, "Do not be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be saved." His forgiveness shone brighter than gold, a reflection of divine mercy and grace. Years rolled on, and Joseph continued to rule with integrity and peace. He watched his children and grandchildren grow in the land of Egypt. Yet his heart always longed for the land God had promised to his fathers. His faith never wavered. He knew Egypt was not their true home. He often told his family, One day God will visit you and bring you out from this land. When his time came, Joseph gathered his brothers and said, I am dying, but God will surely visit you, and you shall carry my bones up from here. He died in faith, trusting in the promise of God, and they placed his body in a coffin in Egypt. Centuries later, when Moses led the children of Israel out of bondage, they carried Joseph's bones with them. From the pit to the palace, his journey stands as a testimony that what man meant for evil, God turned for eternal good. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful Bible stories.